Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bolaji and this is Reggie School of Fashion. On this channel, I upload fashion designing related content regularly for both male and female using pattern drafting, which is a world standard method of clothing construction. And in today's video, I will be showing you how to draft a male native trouser with elastic band and rope. Also, you will be learning how to construct the side seam, how to draft the back panel using the front panel as a pattern, how to adjust the back waist, and how to add seam allowances on your native trouser pattern. If you are excited about this, go ahead and smash the subscribe button now so that you won't be left out whenever I upload a new video on this channel. Kindly give this video a thumbs up so that this video can reach more people like you. If you guys are ready, I'm ready for you too. These are the measurements needed in drafting a male native trouser: the waist circumference, the crotch depth, the knee depth, the trouser length, the thigh circumference, the knee circumference, and the ankle circumference. In this case, the hip circumference measurement is not needed, the hip circumference and the knee level. This is because it is a male native trouser. If you don't know how to take all these measurements, please, taking measurement for a male native trouser is totally different from taking measurement for corporate trouser. So if you don't know how to take measurement for a male native trouser, I have a well-detailed tutorial on how to take measurement for a male native trouser. The video has been linked up in the description box. Watch this video and you will know how to take all these measurements. Shaping the pattern for a male native trouser is different from that of the corporate trouser, so you have to pay a close attention to this. I'll come to this side because I'm using this side as the out seam. We usually have out seam and in seam on the trouser pattern. So this is the out seam. The out seam is the side of the trouser, and this side is the in seam. So that is the inside of the trouser. That is where the crotch curve falls. And because this is the waistline, on this line I will measure 1/2 inch inward. Okay, from the edge of the pattern paper I measured 1/2 inch inward, and this is the point. Then with my pan curve I will be constructing the side. The connection will not be from this point to the crotch depth. It's going to be from this point to towards around this point. I will not get to this point, in short. So this curve is created in order to achieve the curve beside all human figure. Though men are not that curvy, but at the same time their side is not on a straight line, so we have to achieve a slightly curve on the native trouser pattern. You can see the positioning of my ruler. So as you can see, the curve is not much, but at the same time it must not be on a straight line. So this is what I have for the side of the trouser. So from this 1/2 inch point, I will insert 1/4 of the waist circumference measurement. Please, there are lots of things you need to pay a close attention to when making a male native trouser, so that you will not have a funny story after constructing the native trouser, because this is totally different from corporate trouser. No opening at the front and no opening at the back. So there are some steps that must not be skipped. It is not optional. You must apply it when drafting the pattern. So make sure you watch this video to the end. Don't skip any steps so that you don't have issue after constructing your native trouser. So on the waistline, I will be inserting 1/4 of the waist circumference measurement from this 1/2 inch point. I'm taking the measurement forward. The waist circumference measurement I'm working with is 32. 1/4 of 32 is 8 inches. And this is the 8 inches point. But I will not be making use of this exact 8 inches because it is a native trouser. So I will be adding some ease, which will serve as a room for putting on and off the trouser. The ease is what will be used in gathering the waistline with elastic rope. So after gathering the waist with elastic rope, we are still going to add a rope What the rope is doing on a native trouser is what hook and eye will do on a corporate trouser. If only zipper is attached on the corporate trouser without the hook and eye or button to hold it firm, it will off easily. So that is why adding rope to a native trouser is not an old fashion. It is still fashionable. So which means you can still apply it to your trouser. So when you are making a native trouser for your clients, you can combine both elastic rope and the fabric rope together. So for this reason, from this 8 inches point, I will be adding half of an inch. This measurement is not standard. It is usually between 1 and 2 inches. It has to do with the size of the wearer. You can use 1 inch for a small figure. Somebody with a very small stature, you use 1 inch. For large figure, between medium and large, 1.5 inches. For extra large, XX large, you can add 2 inches. And because this pattern is for a large figure, I will be maintaining 1.5 inches. So altogether, I have 9.5 inches. So, and I will take this measurement as it is and insert it on the crotch depth measurement. This is the crotch depth line. So on the crotch depth, I'm inserting 9.5. So this is the point. Then I will take it up with my straight ruler. I'll be connecting the 2 points together to make a straight line. Okay. So the next step is to shape the waistline. This line is the crotch line, and I will label it as crotch line. So that is a crotch line. From this point, I will come down by half of an inch. I'm coming down by half of an inch because it is a native trouser. Then I will reconstruct the waistline with my pant curve ruler, and the positioning is like so. Okay, so I will cross this out. So this is no more the waistline. Okay, so the next step is to construct the curve, the crotch curve. In constructing the crotch curve, I will be needing the thigh circumference measurement. Thigh circumference measurement is only needed when drafting a native trouser pattern. If you want to know how to take this measurement, because there is a trick that goes into taking thigh circumference measurement, watch my video on how to take measurement for a male native trouser, which has been linked up in the description box. So the thigh circumference measurement is divided into 2. So the thigh circumference measurement I'm working with is 24. Half of 24 is 12 inches. And this is the point. So whatever I have from I have from this point, don't forget this is the waist measurement. It is the waist measurement I inserted to this point. So I will take the measurement from this point to this point. That is 2.5 inches. So I will be inserting the 2.5 inches on the crotch line upward. So which means my connection is from this point to this point in order to construct the crotch curve. So with this, you will know how to position your ruler. So now I'll be inserting the knee circumference measurement. also there's a trick that goes into taking the knee circumference measurement. It cannot be taken anyhow. So please, I'm recommending the video on how to take measurement for a male native trouser. Watch this video before taking measurements on your client. So I'll be inserting the knee circumference measurement. Half of the knee circumference measurement is what I'll be inserting on the knee level. So, but I'll be applying the same method I applied on the waistline in order to shape this side. So on the knee level, I will be inserting half of an inch. I'm inserting this half of an inch because I don't want this side also to be on a straight line, and I don't want the curve to be too much. That was why I used half of an inch. So I will be connecting this point to somewhere before the crotch point. This is the easiest method so far in drafting a male native trouser. So can you see what I have? So with this, by the time I cut this out, I will still have a little bit of curvy effect around the hip before it gets to the knee point. So which means the measurements I will be taking will start from this point, and I will insert the knee measurement, which is 8 inches. 8 inches. This measurement has been taken with ease, so I don't need to add extra ease to it. So after inserting this measurement, the next step is to insert the ankle measurement. In taking the ankle measurement as well, there is a trick that goes into it. All the measurement taken for a male native trouser has to be taken with ease. You take them with ease. So when you are drafting your pattern, you don't need to add ease separately. So that is why I'm still recommending my video on how to take measurements for a male native trouser. So on the trouser length, I will be inserting half of the ankle circumference measurement. The ankle circumference measurement I'm working with is 13.5 inches. Half of 13.5 is 6.75. I can easily locate 6.75 on my measuring tape because I know how to read my measuring tape. So if you don't know how to read your measuring tape accurately, or you are not sure of how you have been reading your measuring tape, you usually round up your value to the nearest value you are familiar with. No cause for alarm. I have a well-detailed tutorial on how to read your measuring tape accurately for pattern drafting. In this video, you will learn how to read the small lines you have on your measuring tape, how to convert your fraction values to decimal, and how to convert decimal values to fraction. The video has been linked up in the description box already. Go back and watch this video after watching this particular one. The next step is to connect all these points together using a pant curve ruler. So I will start from connection from the crotch point to the knee point. Connection from the crotch point to the knee point requires a pant curve ruler. Okay, so I'll be connecting the 2 points together like so. So make sure you position your ruler in a correct way. The curve has to come in. It has to face towards the outseam. Okay. Then connection from the knee level to the trouser length requires a straight ruler. The next step is to connect from this half of an inch point by the outseam area to the trouser length. So the connection is with a straight ruler. Okay, so this is what I have for this side. Then I will be adding M allowance of 2.5 inches. So after this step, the pattern is ready and I can go ahead to cut it out. As you can see, the pattern is ready and I'll be cutting this out. The front panel is what I'll be using in constructing the back panel. When cutting out the front panel, I will still maintain the waistline I have earlier before now, which is the straight line before I shaped it with half of an inch. So I'll be cutting on the straight line, not on the curved line, because I still want to use the front panel to construct the back panel. So I have to tell you this, I'm cutting on a straight line, not on the curved line. So after constructing the back panel, I can trim off what I have there. I can cut on the curved line. And also, I did not add any seam allowance on the front pattern. When we are making a male native trouser, you don't need seam allowance on the front panel. All seam allowances will be added on the back panel. Now I'm cutting on the hem allowance line. You will notice when I was connecting the point together from knee to the trouser length, I did not extend this point to the hem allowance line. This is because I don't want to have a shortage after cutting this out. And because of this, I will be folding in my hem allowance. I'm folding on the trouser length line. So please, when you are folding, make sure you fold properly. If your folding is not straight, the cutting will not be straight as well. So now I can go ahead and cut the side. So you can see the shape I have on the hem line. So what I'll be having here will be more than what I have on the trouser length. So when I'm hemming the trouser, there will not be shortage or any issue. Then I'm cutting the remaining part of the out seam. As you can see, the shape of the trouser really come out well on the pattern. So this pattern is for a fitted native trouser. Now I will go ahead and show you how to draft the back panel using the front panel. So now it's time to draft the back panel, and as you can see, I've placed my front panel on the fresh pattern paper, so which means I will be using my front panel to make the back panel. So the first step is to trace out the shape of the front panel on my new pattern paper. Now I've traced my front panel on a fresh pattern paper, so the next step is to transfer all the vertical lines I have on the front panel to the new pattern paper. Okay, now the next step is to work on the waist area and also the crotch area. So on the waist area, I will be adding 1.5 inches in order to raise the back crotch up. So which means the back crotch is usually longer than the front crotch. So I will be adding extra 1.5 inches from the waistline. That is a straight line, not the curved line. Okay, then I will connect the point to the edge of the out seam. Okay, then I will confirm the measurement I have on this slant line and be sure it is no more than the waist measurement I have on the front panel. On the front panel I have 9.5 inches. So I will take the measurement from the outseam point and extend it towards the center. So can you see what I have here is 10 inches. So I will mark the 9.5 inches point like so. Then I will connect this straight down. So I'll be connecting this straight down. So I will just stop there and go to the crotch. So this part is not needed. So the measurement from this point to the edge of the waistline is the waist measurement. So now to the crotch, I will be adding extra 1 inch to the crotch. So I'm taking this forward by 1 inch. Okay, then from the 1 inch point, I'll add 1/4 of an inch. Which is there. Then I will make this a straight line. That point, that is 1/4 point. So this line is the back crotch depth. This is the back crotch depth, and this is the 1 inch point. So after getting this point, so this line is for the back crotch depth. So I'll be connecting this point straight down in order to draw the back crotch line. So the back crotch line is not on a straight line, unlike the front crotch line. So my concentration is on this point and this edge, this point and this point. So that is the waist, front waist point and the back waist point. So once I connect this point together, so that is going to be a guide for me on how much my ruler will slant. Can you see what I have? Then I will take it down. Okay, so now I can construct the back crotch. So the connection is from this point to meet this line. So this is the easiest method so far. So there is no need of slash and spread method, because it is a native trouser, so it is not necessary, though it can be applied on it, but it is not necessary. Okay, so this is the back crotch. Now with all this, I've not added my seam allowance. I've only constructed the back panel. The back panel is usually bigger than the front panel, even before adding the seam allowance. So you can see the ease I have around here. So the ease I have around here is what will accommodate the buttocks at the back. No matter how big or how flat it is, there must be a room for it. So that is why I have this ease around the measurement, the excess, like something like excess I have around here. You can see this is a little bit more than that of the front. So the next step is to connect the crotch point. This is a back crotch point to meet the exact front knee point. And I will be making use of the same pan curve ruler I use in constructing the front panel. Okay, so connection from the knee point downward to the M line still remain the same, so I don't need to reconstruct. The seam allowance that I will be using in joining the front and the back together will be applied on the back panel only. If you notice, when I was drafting the front panel from the beginning to the end, I did not have any seam allowance. So for this reason, I need minimum of 2 inches as seam allowance. So on the waistline, on the back panel waistline, I will be extending this forward by 2 inches. And in doing this, I will have to extend the waistline outward first, because it is not a straight line, it is a slant line. So the measurement has to be taken along the shape of the line. So from this point forward, 2 inches. I'm adding 2 inches because the trouser will be joined in 4 places. That is 2 panels for the front and 2 panels for the back. And each panel has 2 sides. So that is 4 sides in total. Half of an inch for each side. So that is 2 inches. So which means if you want to use more than half of an inch as your seam allowance, it has to be multiplied by 4. If you want to use 3/4 of an inch, you will multiply it by 4. You want to use 1 inch, you have to multiply it by 4. So I multiplied half of an inch by 4. That is why I have 2 inches. So 2 inches on the waistline, 2 inches on the crotch depth. So that is the back crotch depth. I'm taking all the measurements on the back panel points, not the front panel. So 2 inches on the crotch depth, then 2 inches on the knee level. 2 inches on the knee level. So 2 inches on the trouser length. Also 2 inches on the M line. I'm adding this measurement separately because the M line is wider than the trouser length points. 2 inches, 2 inches. Okay, if you notice, when I was adding the seam allowances, I added the seam allowances on the inseam area, not the outseam area. This has to be done on the inseam area. This is because after constructing the trouser, the joining part, which is the seam area, will not fall by the side of the wearer. So we have to move the seam, that is the joining side, away from their side. The crotch will not fall at the center of the lap. And the side also, the side seam will not fall exactly by the side of their leg. So that is the reason why we are having the seam allowance on the back panel only. So if you are making this for a female, you can decide to add the seam allowances on both sides. With this, the seam side will fall exactly on the center of the wearer. That is the side and the crotch center. Connection from the crotch point to the knee point. Connection from the knee point to the trouser length. Straight ruler. Then connection from the trouser length to the M line. Then from the waist point, I will be bringing this down a little, not to the crotch depth. Like so. Then I will complete the curve. So can you see what I have? My concentration is on the straight line, the straight part of the curve ruler, and not the crotch, because I can decide to position my ruler like this, then construct the curve. I can decide to position my curve ruler like this, it aligns as well, and pick it from here. But if you notice, what I will be having here will not be up to 2 inches. So I have to position my ruler in such a way the edge of the ruler, which is a straight part, align with the straight line. So I'm focusing on the upper part of the ruler. So with this, I will have enough space around here. Okay, so with this I can construct the curve. So can you see the connection from this point? It blends all through. So this is what you must have. There must not be a joint. So there shouldn't be a joint in between this connection and the straight line. So all you need to do is just bring this down a little. So I make sure the positioning of your ruler is towards this point. You will position your ruler as if you want to connect this point to the crotch point, the real back crotch point, not the seam allowance. So that is the positioning. Then you just bring it down a little, or let's say this point, the front crotch point. Okay, so as if you want to connect this point to the front crotch point, just bring it down a little, like 3 to 4 inches long. Then from the waist point, I will be adding allowance to create the elastic house. That is where the elastic rope will be inserted, and also the fabric rope. So what I will be using is 1.5 inches. You can use 1 inch, you can use 1.5, and you can use 2 inches. It all depends on how wide you want that part to be. It's going to serve as the waistband. So I want it to be 1.5 inches wide. So this has to be plus extra half of an inch. So instead of 1.5, I will be measuring 2 inches. The half of an inch is to finish the edge of the fabric. So what I'm using is 1.5 inches. Then I'm adding extra half of an inch, so which makes it 2 inches. If you are using 1 inch, measure 1.5. If you are using 2 inches, you measure 2.5 inches. Then I will come to the other side of the waistline, then bring it up by 2 inches. And I will connect the 2 points together. I don't have this allowance on the front panel purposely because I will be using it for the back panel, so I did not add any seam allowance. So for the front panel, you have to add this allowance as well, but I'll be doing it on the fabric. So when I'm cutting out the fabric, that is when I will add the elastic allowance. So when you are drafting your front panel, don't add this allowance. You add it on the fabric. So I'll extend the crotch line to meet this point. And before that, I have to reconfirm my measurement. The measurement is 9.5. 9.5 plus extra 2 inches. Don't forget we are adding our seam allowance. So seam allowance has to be included to this measurement as well. So that is 9.5 plus 2 inches. So which means on this line, I will have 11.5 inches. So 11.5 inches point is what I'll be connecting to the crotch line. That is the seam allowance crotch line, and I will cut out the pattern. Now it's time to cut out the pattern. As you can see, I've pinned my pattern together with my fabric. This is the front panel, and I added the allowance I will be using in housing the elastic, which I said I did not add when I was drafting the front panel, but I added it on the back panel. So I've added it on the fabric now. From this point upward, I have 2 inches. From here upward, I have 2 inches. When I measure this point upward like so, this is a 2 inches point. Don't forget to confirm the measurement and make sure you have exactly what you have here. So this is the point I forgot, and don't forget this as well when you are making yours. I'm supposed to trim this down. So this is the real waistline, which I shaped with curve ruler. So I forgot to trim it. So that's what I'm doing now. So please, when you are cutting yours, don't forget, let it be at the back of your mind before adding the allowance. So I will be adding the allowance all over again because the shape are not the same. Okay, so I've adjusted the seam allowance upward. As you can see, this is a new line now. I'm not cutting on the other line, this line. I'm not cutting on this line, I'm cutting on this line. So I think with this I can go ahead and cut out my fabric. Okay, so I've cut out the front. This is the front and this is the back. So when I was cutting the back, I don't have any markings. I have all my seam allowance added on the pattern already. So after cutting out your pattern, the next step is to place notches on strategic places. So please don't skip this step so that you don't have issue when joining the front and back together. It is very important. Before removing your pattern, you place your notches. So I'm placing notches on the crotch point, on the out seam, and the inseam side. I don't need to do that. I have a curve there. So this curve indicates the crotch depth. So on the knee level, I'll be placing the notches on both out seam and inseam side. Then on the trouser length, I will know the exact point where my hem allowance starts. Okay. Then on the waistline, I will know the exact point the allowance starts, where the waist stops. I will know the point. So with this, your sewing will be very fast. I've placed notches on the back as well. You see what I have on both sides. There's the crotch, there's the knee, and this is the trouser length. So the next step is to cut out the rope. So that is the rope I will be adding together with the elastic to help the trouser stay firm on the wearer. Here is the piece I cut out for the rope, and it is 2 inches wide. So after constructing this, I will be left with 1/2 inch. Because this has to be folded into 2, it has to be unfolded, and at the same time the 2 edges has to be finished as well. So I'll be having it like this. So it will end up with 1/2 inch. So I will be left with 1/2 inch for the width of the rope. But when cutting out the fabric, it has to be 2 inches wide. And for the length, so that is how long the rope is. this is going to be the waist circumference measurement I worked with. I worked with waist circumference of 32 inches and I added 1.5 inches as his. So that 1.5 inches will be in 4 places, that is 6 inches. So 32 plus 6, that is 38. So this is 38 inches point. After the 38 inches, I now added extra value of about 24 inches. So you can add 20 inches, you can add 25 inches. So I think I have 25 inches here. So whatever you will be adding together with the waist circumference measurement should not be lesser than 20 inches, so that the rope will not be too short to tie. You know, we'll be needing extra inches on both sides to tie the rope. So that was why I added 25 inches. So guys, we've come to the end of this tutorial. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you find this video helpful in any way. And if you want me to put this together, kindly state it at the comment section. Till I come your way next time, always do remember, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs.